If you are selling to other businesses, SEO might be your most important asset. In this video, I'm going to show you how we send hundreds of B2B leads to our clients' sales team every single month through organic Google search marketing. Let's dive right in. SEO for B2B is still basic SEO. And what this means is that the basic principles still apply. We need great content, we need technical SEO, and if we really want to aspire to those juicy higher search volume keywords, we definitely need link building. So where is B2B SEO really different? For me, B2B SEO is all about the individual search user. In B2B, search and research and purchase decisions are working in a vastly different way than in B2C. In B2B, things tend to be less emotional, better researched, better contrasted, more comparisons, and this just impacts the entire SEO campaign. But let's start with the goal of a B2B campaign. What is the goal usually in business to business? In business to business marketing, the goal is usually to generate leads. You want to generate leads because the buyer's journey is so long that a sales team really needs to be able to keep in touch with the client over this period of time. B2B usually works through different departments, different teams. Could be the purchase department, could be the IT team of a company involved. There are different meetings, different people doing their research at different stages of a purchase decision. And this just requires a very different SEO approach. As a result, most SEO is focused around lead generation for B2B. So the sales team can keep in touch with possible clients specifically and qualify them further after the initial opt-in. First of all, in B2B SEO, it's really important that you define who you are talking to. Is this a smaller business? Is this an international corporation? How do purchases really work? What kind of role is going to do the research? What kind of roles are going to make the purchase decisions? This makes the whole game very different. Imagine a multinational company with 2,000 employees changing the phone system. You can imagine it's not going to be one person making this decision for the entire company. There's going to probably be a couple of assistants doing some research, finding some options. These assistants, let's call them Lindsay and David, and Lindsay and David are no phone system experts. They might just do some research after this was raised in a meeting, and this is when the entire thing then starts. Their research might be then being dealt with in a meeting. This might go to the purchase department. The purchase department might involve IT. IT might also raise their opinions. And in all those meetings and involved departments, additional people might be doing their research, but on a very different level. And while Lindsay and David might be typing in phone system for international company, multinational phone system, something like this, Mike over at IT might just type in 5G broadband data plans. Because with his background, he's able to do a more qualified research and has a very good idea of what he's looking for. And B2B SEO here needs to account for different entry points in order to make sure that all the different people involved ideally land via SEO on our brand. But even in smaller companies, bigger purchase decisions are usually not made by one person on their own and are usually not impulsive decisions. A small business looking to hire tech support is going to compare different offers. A family business upgrading their cell phones are going to check with different internet providers on what they have to offer, just to make sure that they are really happy with the purchase decisions, and they can also defend this even in a small team. All B2B purchase decisions have something in common though, which I find really interesting in B2B. There's always one person who doesn't want to screw up. It's very different if you run your own business, make a decision, it was a bad decision, you might have to defend it in front of the team, but the team is not so involved, possibly. Whereas in a big corporation, there are usually many people raising their opinions, many people trying to possibly get your job, and you really need to make sure that you can back up your decisions and justify them accordingly. And this just makes B2B a very challenging area because the content people find when they do the research before purchasing something really needs to help them specifically to back up their decision. So things like testimonials, case studies, other brands using this product or service, etc., have a very high importance for the conversion rate. Not so much for SEO, but definitely for the type of conversions that are going to be coming through. So our B2B users, Lindsay and David and possibly Mike from IT, are really going to make sure that they make the right choices, even when selecting the first 3-5 options initially. So they are already going to be the first people trying to defend this. But then through the different meetings and the different managers and going up to the C-level possibly, everybody is going to try to make sure that from their end this is a good decision they can really justify in case any problems arise. Imagine this phone system then doesn't work for a week, there's going to be someone to blame it on, so everybody wants to make sure they have enough proof that this was a good decision and this is really beyond their responsibility. So while Lindsay and David, our assistants here in this example, are doing the research work, they're not the ones that make the decisions. This is another difference to B2C, where very often the person researching is making the decision or very close to the decision maker. The research from Lindsay and David is usually being dealt with in a meeting, probably by their superior and their peers, so they're similar level in the company, and then this decision might be further discussed, further options might be researched, other people from other departments might raise their opinion. So there is a lot of research going on. Everybody in this scenario is going to try to back up their options as much as possible. And if we have multiple researches being done from people from different areas and different backgrounds and different experiences, the type of research is going to be very different. Some terms are really common in B2B, which is, for example, alternative queries. So someone types in Microsoft Teams alternatives, for example, so we find alternative solutions to Microsoft Teams to get more offers. We find versus queries, meaning Microsoft Teams versus Skype for Business, for example. We also find kind of case study queries or brand comparisons, iPhone versus Samsung, for example, or also very specific queries when the decision is made. Everything someone can find about iPhone 13 Pro and the possible issues or experiences of other companies who is using this, etc. These kinds of queries are really important, and then we want to rank for both the generic terms eventually, but also very, very specific terms. So phone system, but also multinational phone system for 2000 licenses, for example. Something like this could be really, really interesting. Before we come to the last point here, let me make a very important announcement. One of the most important aspects of B2B SEO is subscribing to a very trusted SEO resource. So what I recommend here personally is that you hit the subscribe button, subscribe to this channel, and stay up to date on what's happening in SEO, most of which is going to also apply for your B2B SEO project. The last point I want to mention is informational content at scale. I see this every single day. B2B companies focusing on their service pages, but they don't take into account that not everybody wants to jump at the service level or service page level directly in. They want to read, they want to investigate, they want to do some research, learn more about the subject, just to also be able to talk in meetings about this and maybe contrast some case studies or bring up some case studies on how this worked for other companies and what return on investment was there, etc. So one main leverage point B2B SEO can have is when you're able to create content at scale. You can't trust your service pages to be ranked. Google is going to search for informational content, not transactional content like a service page would probably be in your case. And you want to have enough content around your product, around different entry points, around different pain points. So Google can bring you users to different articles, and those articles can then connect to your service pages or can connect to a lead magnet so people can opt in, can go to your mailing list, can download a buyer's guide or whatever it is that brings them to your list, so your sales team can monitor their behavior on the list, which emails do they open, where do they engage, and then proactively try to reach out and get in touch with them. The way we go about this at SEO Leverage is that we first perform a very deep keyword research among competitors on your site, on your material. We just got a brochure from a client sent over so we can explore the product specifically, but we also dive into B2B forums, Reddit, Quora, other sources where people just ask questions about certain products, certain services, certain pain points. and we grab whatever we can find in terms of how they refer to those problems, because those are building a really good data foundation where we then can create a topical map out how you can structure the informational content on your website well, so that Google can make the connections between the different content items and the content can be created at a scale that actually has some leverage for you. The more content you have on your website, the more keywords Google can rank you for, and the better Google is going to be able to understand which page is the best fit for which kind of search query. If you just have one article describing what a phone system is, it's not going to be enough. You want to back this up by more content from the same topic so that Google can really understand what's happening on your site. B2B SEO is vastly underrated, so there is so much potential, and a lot of people rely on rather direct contacts or direct response marketing rather than building a content base where clients can come and find their services. So if you want more about this, check out SEOleverage.com. My name is Gert. Thank you so much.